Hey, this is Dr. Drew. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to build, maintain, and repair gut health for optimal wellness. Now, it's estimated that around 2 out of 3 North Americans are dealing with gut health at any given time, and they don't understand the dramatic impact this can have on their health. And I always tell patients, the gut is the hub of health. It is literally the centerpiece. And if there's a problem there, it can reflect in many other systems. So you have the gut-brain axis, you have the gut-heart axis. And so if there's problems going on there, the organ that it connects to, which is basically all of them, can be affected. And in some patients' cases, this could be like eczema or psoriasis in the skin. It could be poor recovery for athletes. It could be worse depression and anxiety. It could be early or current cardiovascular disease. So if you want a healthy body, or you have a particular system that is problematic, you might want to look back to the gut in just about every case. And this is where it's often missed in medicine. You'll go to your doctor, they diagnose a liver issue or a heart issue, or say you have depression or anxiety, and no one is connecting back to the gut and asking the question of, is there anything dietarily going wrong? Is there imbalances in the gut? Is there inflammation coming from there? Is there autoimmunity that stems back to the gut? There is a ton to look at when it comes to health, but you never can go wrong with starting with the gut first, okay? So for the first section, let's talk about how to build gut health. This just starts with general lifestyle things, some do's and don'ts, as well as the kind of foods that you put into your system. So the food pyramid I like to go back to is foundationally lots of high quality proteins. Animal proteins are really easy on the gut. They provide lots of great nutrients. So beef, fish, chicken, eggs, lamb, pork, turkey. Low gas fruits and vegetables are usually the easiest on the gut. When people are dealing with gut problems, they often can't handle too much fiber. So that's where I'll say keep an eye on the cruciferous foods and limit beans, legumes, and lentils because those can generate a lot of gas along the gut lining. Stick to easy to digest fruits and vegetables, lean meats, and then healthy fats. This is a very big topic. We could probably do a whole video on fats, but just at a basic level, stick to nuts and seeds, avocado, coconut oil, maybe a bit of butter or ghee. Don't use a lot of the industrial seed oils like vegetable oils such as canola, soy, sunflower, safflower. Eliminate those completely because they light the gut and the digestive system on fire, and they're in everything. They're added to foods and people will cook and fry with them, so just don't do it. Now when it comes to probiotics, if you've had recent antibiotics, or maybe you've had illness while traveling or food poisoning, that's a good time to maybe re-inoculate your system with probiotics, but it's not necessarily a staple you need to be on all the time. That's something to talk about with your healthcare provider. But you can always look into fermented foods, right? We have miso, we have soy-based things that are fermented. You have kefir, which is going to be your dairy ferment, sauerkraut, kimchi. All these things can provide beneficial bacteria to your system. And if you like them and tolerate them and they don't give you gas or bloating, go for it. Those can be beneficial foods to establish a better balance in your microbiome, which is just a fancy word for the 2 or 3 pounds of bugs that reside within your system. And it's not a bad thing because these bugs actually help. They're part of your immune defense. They generate nutrients and they help you break down your food. So they are your friends if you keep them balanced. Some other things to consider with digestion. You want to chew really well. Make sure you go for 31 times per bite because there are no teeth in the stomach. And if you don't chew really well, those large molecules go into your stomach and they just cause irritation. So make sure you're slowing down and chewing. Another one is water and hydration. You need to make sure you're drinking 1 liter of water per 50 pounds body weight each day. This is because the digestive system is like a river and it cannot run dry. So you need to make sure that you're getting adequate hydration and electrolytes. So if you're drinking, say it's a 150 pound person, 3 liters a day, you also need to make sure that you're consuming salts and electrolytes as well. That helps the water absorb and do what it needs to and get to the cellular level. Another hygiene piece is don't eat too close to bedtime. Once you go flat and you take gravity out of the equation, that's when indigestion and heartburn can kick up. So make sure you don't eat within 2 or 3 hours before bedtime. That gives your body ample time to digest and break things down. Now let's talk about some negative influences and lifestyle habits that can lead to poor gut health. A big one is eating processed foods all the time. So things that come out of packages, bags, boxes, things with lots of preservatives, additives, food colorings. all very hard on the gut, just more stuff for your liver to process. And then lots of sugar in the form of desserts, too much dried fruit, candy, pops, consumption of liquid calories. All that can be really hard on the system. So you want to minimize and focus on getting sugar from fruits, preferably in the form of whole, 1 to 2 servings a day, using things like honey and maple syrup instead. But too much added sugar, particularly cane sugar, incredibly hard on the system. You also want to minimize excessive alcohol consumption. To date in practice, I have not seen this give anyone superpowers by consuming alcohol on a regular basis. It's one of the hardest things on the gut and liver, and daily drinking is very bad. Binge drinking is even worse. So I tell people, birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, save it for special occasions. But better yet, just minimize it completely. Many of my patients' lives have been changed, mine included, by just simply giving up alcohol altogether or having it very rarely and selectively, okay? It is a toxin, your body has to detox it out. So simply just avoid it and don't do it, and your health will soar. You'll get better sleep, you'll get better energy, and your gut will be able to focus on what it needs to do instead of detoxing that toxin from your system. Now, when it comes to coffee, this can be an incredibly healthy beverage. There's a lot of polyphenols and antioxidants. A little shot of caffeine can wake people up, but if you have gut issues or want good gut health, you don't want to overconsume this because it can trigger gut irritation as well as excessive bowel movements. So stick to a cup or 2 a day if you can handle it. If you have terrible anxiety and sleep, you might want to minimize it further, but make sure it's also done by noon so that it gives time for the caffeine metabolize out of your system. But other than that, if you like it and you tolerate it well, probably okay 1 to 2 a day. A big negative thing that just wreaks havoc on your gut that you really want to avoid is food poisoning and illness while traveling. Obviously, most people are naturally trying to do this, but when you travel and you're in a country or a place that you're not used to, be extra careful. And the reason I say this is it's not just as bad as, oh, I got sick for a week and then I got over it. A lot of times that can be a turning point for people and they're never the same since. You'll get bad water and yeah, it's a week of diarrhea, but then occasionally that can launch people into an IBS flare that is very hard to get out of. So be extremely cautious when you travel. Don't eat any raw or cold foods when possible. Avoid things like salads that might be washed with water and only consume things that are well cooked under high heat. That is just a good tip. You're not going to shrivel up and die if you don't eat a salad and raw veggies for a week or 2 that you're away. And in fact, it might just save you from getting sick or worse, having to deal with an IBS where you're now in and out of the doctor's office unnecessarily. So really use caution when you travel. Now let's talk about some therapeutic approaches when it comes to good, solid gut health. So this is things like supplements, assessments and testing, and these are things I use a lot of in my practice. So yes, it's diet first, but often I'll do food sensitivity testing to see what may be irritating the system, what may be causing inflammation, maybe what they're not breaking down well, or maybe what's just not compatible with their body. And we get that out for 90 days and we do a reset there. So I'm a big fan of food sensitivity testing. You know, if they're dealing with a lot of diarrhea or sort of back-end digestive stuff, we may do a stool test where we look at the microbiome, how well they're breaking down their food. Is there any bacteria, yeast, fungus, parasites in the system that need to be taken out? So I will also do that. So that's kind of the high-end testing. And then also I'll use supplements. So food first, but supplements, things like glutamine, digestive enzymes, probiotics will be looked at. If there's heartburn or indigestion, I'll look at digestive enzymes, chewable licorice capsules. If there's leaky gut or poor gut integrity going on, we'll look at things like zinc carnosine. So lots of different things that we can employ as part of the treatment plan to get people's gut health back on track, because if you're digesting and absorbing, your energy will be better, you'll have less brain fog, you'll probably get rid of headaches, your skin will improve, your recovery, your performance in the gym, everything just soars when the gut is feeling and doing better. Now, when it comes to gut health, what's the ideal diet? And of course, you can Google what's the best diet for gut health, and should I do keto and carnivore, paleo, Mediterranean, omnivore, vegan, vegetarian. There's so many things out there, and it's quite obvious no one can agree. So at a very baseline level, it's good to test and see what agrees with you. But I do think foundationally, from a nutrient and protein standpoint, just making sure you get enough of the high quality animal proteins is a staple. What it really comes down to is sustainability, because anybody can run keto for 3 months and get results, but if they fall off the wagon, and regain the weight and they're just back eating what they were before, well, of course the same health problems are going to creep back in. So I'm a big fan of finding out what's sustainable. So that's why I'm not too rigid with people where it's like it must be this or it must be that, but I do provide some frameworks. And so that's how I like to work with people. I think the paleo and autoimmune paleo is a good framework. I think we can borrow ideas from the Mediterranean. Then you slip in a food sensitivity test, and from there you can merge the three and kind of figure out, okay, there's perhaps a good foundational sustainable thing for you. So that's kind of how I like to think about it. Now, to regulate stress in the system is important because if you have too much stress floating around, that diverts blood flow away from the gut, and this can cause major problems. So regular exercise is a great way to blow off stress. It's also one of the best things to regulate gut health. And most of your immune system lies along your gut. So if you want a good, healthy immune system, you need a good, healthy gut. And you need to find the sweet spot with exercise, okay? Like not too much, not too little, just right. So if you're dealing with gut health, if you have that gas, bloating, stomach pains, there may be something going on. And I find in our society that is terribly normalized. A lot of times people will have these symptoms and, oh, it's just bloating, it's normal, don't worry about it. Yeah, I eat that food all the time and it makes me feel terrible after, no worries. Or yeah, I just go to the bathroom every 3 or 4 days. None of that's normal. When you eat and break down your food, that process should be happening and you shouldn't even notice that it's going on. It should just happen effortlessly behind the scenes. Shouldn't be lots of noise, shouldn't be discomfort, definitely shouldn't be heartburn. And then you should aim to have a bowel movement every single day. If you eat every day, you should have a bowel movement every day. So that's just kind of another good thing to keep an eye on. You should be moving around 12 to 15 inches of stool in a 24-hour period. And if you're not, you're backed up. And then those toxins sit in your system longer than necessary. They recirculate a second time. And then there's just this barrage that keeps hitting your system over and over and over again. So to feel awesome, you have to detox daily. And part of that is make sure you're going to the bathroom. If you're dealing with chronic constipation, that's a whole other workup. And I've done videos on this. But that needs to be dealt with because you should be going every day. So if you've been dealing with gut issues and you haven't been able to figure this out with your doctor or practitioner and you need help or have more questions, just drop a comment below and I'd be happy to help. And if you have a friend or family member that would benefit from this information, please share it with them, okay? And as always, thank you for watching.